sensor, computer repair tool, pet fitness system.
Play Megabucks, because $1 million is $1 million. For most people, anyway.
It's gonna be big. Yeah, big. Big.
Political correctness gone to extremes, Sunday at 6.
Thousands of federal workers stay off the job. What really keeps the president and the Republicans from putting them back to work? A man who was fired for blowing the whistle on government corruption wins $13 million in damages.
That SRB is burning nicely.
And what is next in space? What's old may be new again.
From ABC, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening. We begin tonight with what we hope is a clearer idea of why there seems to be political paralysis in Washington. With almost 1 million government employees not working, but sure to be paid later, the President and the Congress, as you know, are still struggling to get the upper hand politically on how and how much the government will spend and save. This is a major battle, principally about balancing the federal budget. And because neither side accepts the other's figures, tonight the Republicans have said we'll send you another version of spending authority. Bear in mind, this is above all a battle for political primacy. First, here's ABC's John Cochran.
Republicans tried today to regain the offensive, saying they will pass a new temporary measure to reopen parts of the government now shut down.
For the purpose of getting the federal government up to full speed, we are prepared to focus on the central question. Will the president sign a balanced budget agreement of 7 years scored by the Congressional Budget Office? That's the central issue, after all. Everything else is secondary.
President Clinton vetoed the last stopgap measure. He objected because it would have raised Medicare premiums for the elderly next year. Now Republicans say their new bill won't even mention Medicare.
If he rejects it, I don't know what happens then. I think then it's, I think the burden dramatically shifts.
And Republicans hope the burden of blame does shift. They've been badly stung by polls showing the public places most of the blame for the government shutdown on Republicans.
We'll see if he vetoes that, then we will know. He's not interested in continuing the operation of the government, and he's not interested in the balanced budget. What he wants is more spending. That's what's really at stake.
Republicans put together a videotape of the president speaking over the past 3 years about the time it should take to balance the budget. The tape was, of course, edited to make the president look as foolish as possible.
I think we could reach it in 9 years. Balance the budget in 10 years. I think we could reach it in 8 years. I have proposed a balanced budget that balances the budget in 9 years. I think we could reach it in 7 years.
Democrats fought back, going down to a Social Security office where, although monthly checks will still be mailed, new claims for benefits have been halted. Democrats blamed Newt Gingrich.
It is Newt's nightmare. He is the one responsible. He is the one who should apologize to the American people.
No one expects a quick agreement. Congress was scheduled to take all of next week off to celebrate Thanksgiving back home. Now they're talking about having Thanksgiving dinner right here. John Cochran, ABC News, Capitol Hill.
Well, within minutes of the Republicans passing this latest resolution to let the government resume spending, the White House let it be known that President Clinton will veto it. The White House says again it is merely an attempt to force Mr. Clinton to accept the Republican version of the budget. Now, just why there is such an enormous distrust and divide between the president and the Republicans from the White House point of view, here's ABC's Britt Hume.
On the face of it, you wouldn't think a provision that called for a balanced budget in 7 years would be enough to draw another veto. After all, the president has previously indicated he could go along with that.
I think there's a way for me to meet their stated objectives, which is a balanced budget in 7 years with a family tax cut, and I think they want a capital gains tax cut, and extending the Medicare Trust Fund until 2006.
But the real sticking point in this White House versus Congress showdown is not how long it will take to balance the budget. It is instead the economic estimates used to calculate what it will take to balance the budget. At the White House today, Press Secretary McCurry noted that even though the White House and Congress disagree only slightly in their estimates of such things as economic growth, tax revenues, and interest rates, those small disagreements have a huge practical impact on any plan to balance the budget.
It's critical to figuring out where you start to draw a plan. How many billions of dollars are you going to need? You know, small fractions of percentage points affect large sums of money as you look at what the consequences are in a 1.5 trillion plus economy.
For example, in Medicare and Medicaid spending, a difference of 0.6 of 1 percentage point in the estimated growth of those programs would mean a difference of $60 billion over 7 years. Congressional Republicans have been promising large economic benefits that would flow from a balanced budget, such as lower interest on mortgages and faster economic growth. But that depends on their plan being taken seriously in financial markets, which is why they say they're wedded to the more pessimistic estimates of the Congressional Budget Office.
When you take the president's plan and you send it to the budget office and they calculate it, he isn't anywhere near a balanced budget way beyond the turn of the next century. He never gets there. He has $200 billion deficits as far as the eye can see.
The White House, of course, says that's ridiculous and that its Office of Management and Budget Estimates have a better recent track record. By its projections, you don't need to cut nearly as much from the growth of Medicare or from education and training. So until these two sides can agree on a set of budget estimates, it seems unlikely they can agree on a budget plan for 7 years or even 7 days. Britt Hume, ABC News, the White House.
It is certainly clear that government is complicated, and there is frustration in many quarters at the inability to explain it to the voters' satisfaction. To help us cut through some of the rhetoric, we turned a little earlier today to the congressional analyst Norman Ornstein of the American Enterprise Institute. Mr. Ornstein, is this a real crisis?
It's real for those federal employees who aren't working and for those people who couldn't get their passports renewed. But let's face it, this is a preliminary skirmish with the real battle ahead, the one that's over the budget itself, that could lead to a significant crisis. Right now, this is more manufactured than anything else.
What happens if the president is unable to accept a continuing resolution to spend money, which the Congress sends, and the White House says irreconcilable differences? What happens next?
You know, to some degree, we're moving into a great unknown, because whenever we've had a conflict of this sort, we've resolved it in a day or two. But mostly what's happening now is we are waiting, with this being the surface story, for the Republican House and the Republican Senate to agree on a reconciliation package, the larger budget package. Once they do that and can send it to the president, he can veto that and then has the opportunity to sit down and negotiate with them.
One of the latest dispatches from Washington says Republicans say they're going to force President Clinton to accept or reject a balanced budget. Can they do that?
The notion of 73 freshman Republicans coming in, many of them never having served anywhere in government, that they were going to turn the world upside down, was based on the idea that it was going to be a take-it-or-leave-it proposition. They cannot override his veto, and as long as he says no, he can draw the line in the dust and keep them from getting what they want. They can keep him from getting what he wants, but the end result of all of that is nobody gets what they want. This could turn into a no-win situation. And remember that while on the surface what we see is the Republican Congress on one side of a gulf and the Democratic president on the other, underneath it all is a Republican House trying to work out its own differences with the Republican Senate. Until that happens, we're not going to get a real negotiation, and the public's going to see a bunch of adolescents fighting in the schoolyard.
Glad we asked you in. Thanks, Norm.
Sure, Peter.
Today's installment of the Washington saga. When we come back, some of the other news. The largest payoff ever made to a whistleblower in the Texas government. The dramatic new results of drugs that lower cholesterol. And Japan's latest passion, four-wheel drive.
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Brought to you by Panasonic.
It happens in the hospital. It happens at home. It's the onset of heartburn. It's an attack of acid indigestion. For these stomach flare-ups, the #1 choice of hospitals is Maalox. Hospitals know that nothing works faster to rush heartburn relief. Now, you know it too. Fast-acting Maalox. Hospitals can count on it for speed, and that's just what you need. Maalox, the first choice for hospitals, the fast choice for home. In fast-acting Maalox tablets too.
Well, In Texas today, vindication for a whistleblower. 6 years after trying to expose corruption in a state agency and being punished for it, a Texas man has received an apology and a reward. In fact, the largest payoff ever made to a Texas government whistleblower. Here's ABC's Dean Reynolds.
Hernandez.
George Green was watching today as the Texas legislature made him a very rich man, awarding him more than $13 million in damages.
I think this is a lesson for all of us in government.
In 1989, Green, then an architect for the Department of Human Resources, believed he had found evidence of health hazards and fraud in the department and took the charges to his superiors, getting nowhere.
Everybody in the chain of command had the evidence, and nobody did a thing to solve the problem.
Instead, the department assigned 5 state investigators to follow Green, whom they considered a malcontent. They reviewed 2.5 years of his office phone calls and found one for 13 cents to be improper. But that was enough for Green to be charged with a felony for misusing his state government phone and to be dismissed. Jobless and reduced to living in this trailer, Green sued the state for damages under its Whistleblower Protection Act. Authorities later dropped their case against him, but Green pressed his case against them, winning his suit in 1991 and all the appeals up to 1994. Today, after 1.5 years of foot-dragging, the legislature finally coughed up the money. Lieutenant Governor Bob Bullock was conciliatory.
Blame, there's enough to go around the entire state of Texas.
Green said today there are many decent civil servants working in state government.
But we got some sorry son of a bitches, too, running this operation. And I know that... Pardon me.
George Green said he was proud that he had stood his ground against such formidable opposition and said he hoped others will take heart from his victory, however long it was in coming. Dean Reynolds, ABC News, Dallas.
In California today, attorneys for O.J. Simpson were in court for the first time in conjunction with the civil lawsuits against him. The judge has agreed to consolidate the wrongful death suits brought by the families of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman. Some business news today. 78,000 employees of AT&T face a hard choice. About half of AT&T's entire supervisory staff has been told accept a buyout and retire now or take your chances and face being laid off with less money next year. AT&T is in the process of breaking itself up into 3 separate companies. On Wall Street, AT&T gained 1.25 points today. Overall, the Dow Jones Industrials gained nearly 51 points to close at another record high, 49.22. On the NASDAQ market, stocks were up about a point. We'll have more news in just a moment.
To build something that endures takes hard-working people. People who care. People with vision. And the strength to see the job through. We know. Since 1904, that's how we've built a name for ourselves in financial services. Providian. Insurance, credit, and retirement savings.
This is Emily. She's writing a book report on a PC with an Intel Pentium processor inside. The Pentium processor has the power to make software look, sound, and feel more real, making Emily's homework assignment feel more like a field trip. The Intel Pentium processor.
How many times I told my dad to see a doctor. He was stubborn. But the pain in his stomach just wouldn't go away. He had to go. You should have seen the relief on his face when the doctor said Mylanta.
Mylanta is fast, soothing relief. In fact, even with all the new heartburn medicines available today, doctors recommend Mylanta most for heartburn and acid indigestion.
My doctor said Mylanta.
Will that be a window or aisle?
Sir, window. Aisle seat.
Well, at least you know where to sit when you get home. The Accord Coupe from Honda, possibly the world's easiest decision.
Tonight, it's shocking. A renowned fertility doctor accused of stealing eggs from patients and implanting them in others, giving away human embryos for experiments. For the first time, the doctor answers the tough questions on Primetime tonight.
In California, at the American Heart Association's meeting, doctors have outlined a new type of heart bypass surgery that is much simpler and causes less pain than traditional bypasses. The new surgery, we're told, allows the heart to keep beating and eliminates the need for a heart-lung machine. And patients can reportedly recover and go home within 3 days. There's another important development today concerning heart disease. A second report presented at the cardiologist meeting could have implications for 25 million Americans who have high cholesterol. Here's our medical editor, Tim Johnson.
Researchers in Scotland studied over 6,500 middle-aged men who had high cholesterol levels ranging from 250 to 300, but who had never had a heart attack or any other heart symptoms. One group got a cholesterol-lowering drug, pravastatin, while the rest got a placebo. The results were dramatic: a 31% reduction in heart attacks and a 22% reduction in death rate in the men who took the cholesterol drug.
Individuals at risk of heart disease who have never had a heart attack in the past can benefit significantly by taking the cholesterol-lowering drug pravastatin.
Experts stress that a low-fat diet is still the first step in lowering cholesterol. But today's report should mean that doctors will also more quickly prescribe cholesterol-lowering drugs because they have now been proven to be clearly life-saving. Dr. Timothy Johnson, ABC News.
A couple of items of foreign news today. The Bosnian peace talks near Dayton, Ohio have reached a critical stage. Senior administration officials tell ABC News that Secretary of State Christopher, who left Dayton for Japan last night, plans to turn around and come back as early as Friday. They say that Mr. Christopher will stay and attend the talks until they succeed or fail. In Israel today, police have arrested a young woman in connection with the murder of Yitzhak Rabin. Officials say that she played a central and dominant role in the conspiracy to kill the Israeli Prime Minister. She studies law at the same religious university attended by Mr. Rabin's assassin, Yigal Amir. When we come back, the Space Shuttle's replacement, which may be waiting in the wings.
Presto has a great idea. Presto has a great big idea. Professional salad shooter slicer shredder. Big capacity, holds a lot, shoots a lot. Powerful, fast, a variety of cutting blades so you can point and slice thick, slice thin, shred right into the bowl, even ripple cut. Chop great right where you want. Clean up easy, dishwasher safe, store anywhere. Salad shooter! Original, professional, and now professional salad shooter plus from Presto.
Hertz is giving away double frequent flyer miles? Exactly. Let me get this straight. You got this great car from Hertz and double frequent flyer miles. Exactly. You're not going to stop that, are you?
You mean our Hertz car for the weekend is only $25 a day?
Exactly.
With free unlimited mileage and Hertz service?
Exactly.
What else could we ask for?
Some marshmallows? Hertz, only $25 a day. Marshmallows not included.
What's amazing about global communications? At GTE, we think it should make it easier for people to get together, which is why we brought the first cellular phone system to Cordoba, Argentina, and why we operate the local phone system in the Venezuelan village of Grico, which Mercedes Torres finds pretty amazing. Why? Because she doesn't feel a million miles away from her grandfather anymore. Amazing.
What should you do when a simple anti-wrinkle cream is no longer enough?
Look for the most advanced products.
L'Oreal has created Plenitude Revitalift, double performance anti-wrinkle plus firming care. With Pro-Retinol A, Revitalift reduces the appearance of wrinkles.
Your skin will look smoother.
With Paralasto, Revitalift increases skin's firmness.
You'll see firmer skin.
See results in just 1 week. New Plenitude Revitalift from L'Oreal reduces the signs of aging.
248 miles above the Earth today, precision, as always, was everything. The Space Shuttle Atlantis and the Russian space station Mir, each traveling side by side at more than 17,000 miles an hour, then connected. They are, in effect, training to work together on building a space station sometime in the future. We put the space shuttle on the American agenda tonight because the entire program is in the middle of a major reassessment. When the federal government first commissioned the shuttle in 1969, the context was this: we've gone to the moon, what next? Now, all these years later, some people say the shuttle was the wrong answer. Our agenda reporter is Ned Potter.
This is Mission Control Houston.
The shuttle is a promise that could not be kept.
4, 3, we have an abort.
It was meant to be cheap and simple, a space truck that would launch every week.
Sound check on Air Ground 1. How do you copy?
Instead, by NASA's own admission, it became the most complex flying machine in history.
And liftoff of Space Shuttle Discovery.
Costing $400 million per flight.
We all haven't progressed as far in space as we could have, mainly because it's just very expensive to operate in space.
Pete Conrad has been there. He was one of America's early astronauts, the third man ever to walk on the moon.
Can work out here all day.
But in 1973, he says he quit NASA, disgusted as the agency got bogged down in bureaucracy. The White House had told NASA to stop exploring and build the shuttle. It was supposed to be less costly than old-fashioned throwaway rockets, but it takes 40,000 people to keep it running. Its 27,000 heat shield tiles have to be checked by hand. Its rocket boosters have to be rebuilt after every flight. And since the boosters fall back into the ocean, the shuttle has to launch from the Florida coast where thunderstorms are common. Of the 73 flights so far, 52 have been delayed, mostly by weather.
This was a pretty spectacular day for all of us.
One should still remember that astronauts call the shuttle a great ship. It's docked with the Russians, launched 54 satellites, and repaired half a dozen others. But the design is 2 decades old, and NASA concedes the country needs a new, more affordable spaceship.
Right now, our launch costs are so great that only the highest priority missions are getting launched into space.
We're going to fly all of this.
That's why Pete Conrad now heads a team at McDonnell Douglas trying to build a new ship.
We have ignition. We have engine throttle up.
Conrad's team calls its prototype the Delta Clipper. It's years from reaching orbit, but it should be simple to maintain and therefore very cheap.
Looking good.
In your heart of hearts, is this doable?
Yes, absolutely. Because my spec, this is mine, and McDonnell Douglas, my spec is that when you build this thing, you should be able to turn it around in 6 hours. And 4 of that is letting it cool off.
The Clipper is one of 3 designs competing to be America's next reusable launcher. Rockwell International has a winged vehicle, and Lockheed's design looks like a giant wedge. The final ship would use advanced lightweight materials to save fuel, be self-inspected by computer instead of massive ground crews. Most important, NASA hopes private enterprise, not the government, will fly the new ship. To be profitable, spaceflight would have to be 90% cheaper than it is today, and NASA believes private companies can make that happen. All this has space people talking about a rebirth, looking forward to a time when everything is faster, cheaper, better. Some of them, though, say there's just one little problem, that it cannot possibly work. Many engineers say a next-generation ship could reduce costs by 1/3 or by half, but not 9/10. They say there's another option.
That SRB is burning nicely.
The military and other countries launch satellites at lower cost with old-fashioned throwaway rockets. John Pike, who's been watching the space program for 20 years, says if you want to see the spaceship of the future, look in a museum. Would we be right back to where we began, with cylindrical rockets like these with a capsule on top?
Well, I think that the bottom line is that we may have had it right to begin with. This may be what spaceships look like.
Pete Conrad says it would be a mistake to stop looking forward.
What a terrible waste. I mean, did you ever think about that? You build all those boosters and throw them away? It's just got to change.
Whatever change happens, it needs to come soon, because the alternative is for the country to stay on its current, costly course. This is Ned Potter for the American Agenda.
When we come back, the latest earthly passion of the Japanese. And in most cases, this is an American idea.
Up there all night, man, it's always just been me and my music. The last thing I ever wanted to worry about were my dentures. I switched to Fixodent, so now I know I can start playing at 6 p.m. and swing set after set straight through the dawn.
Fixodent holds stronger, longer than any other cream.
even after 12 hours.
You tell me I don't have to worry. That's like music to my ears.
For a stronger, longer hold, Fix-It and forget it.
Nobody does it like you.
For high traffic areas, now there's the deep cleaning power of the new Hoover Steam Vac Deluxe with 5-brush agitator.
Nobody does it like you.
Presenting a cat box filler that controls odors all hours of the day and night. Tidy Cat. Its patented continuous action formula gives you round-the-clock odor protection. Make it Tidy Cat or Tidy Scoop and make it tidy all the time.
For years, people have done their thinking on the run. Now, they can do their business on the run, thanks to the breakthrough that fits in your pocket. Zorus, the personal digital assistant from Sharp that gives you the freedom to write it, type it, sign it, and fax it anytime, anywhere.
John, hello, mate. Just got your fax. But you really should get out of the office a bit more.
I'm Paul Lendman. Coming up on Channel 2 News at 6:30, 75-year-old Artie Wilson was a big league star nearly a half-century ago. Today, Portland gives him a tribute he never dreamed of. And Hooters comes under fire, but this time not from women at 6:30.
Finally this evening, four-wheel drive and no place to go. No, this is not about yuppies in the U.S. who use their four-wheel drives to get them to the mall. This is about Japan's passion for sports utility vehicles and how the Japanese have decided to utilize them. Here's ABC's Mark Litke.
No doubt about it, Japanese have fallen headlight over tailpipe for the four-wheel drive recreational vehicle. Its rugged image, its sturdiness, its power to negotiate the toughest traffic jams. Yes, in densely populated Japan, this has been a love affair with very few challenges. Until now. Welcome to the Sanage four-wheel drive adventure field, or as the folks here like to call it, Off-Roado Paradaisu. It's only a fake wilderness, but it has all the trappings of the great American outdoors. That old Devil's Incline, and the ever-popular Rocky Road. All wedged into the size of a baseball diamond on the outskirts of Nagoya. Courses like this have been cropping up all over Japan lately, often sponsored by Japanese auto companies to promote their vehicles' durability. For about $25 an hour, off-road warriors can bump and bruise their trendy Jeeps with abandon, without abandoning their families. Masami Asano says he is addicted. He comes here almost every weekend, spending half his salary for the pleasure of smashing up his Jeep. He's already totaled one vehicle, spent $15,000 on repairs for this one. Why? Because he likes it. And so do the novices. At Sanage, there's a contraption to teach newcomers the thrills that lie ahead if they really go for it. And some do. This driver insisted he wasn't going to give up just because of a little mishap. Even crashing, he says, is a lot of fun. Expensive fun. And when the fun is over, this wilderness has a coin-operated car wash, a place to spruce up a trusted friend for the next great outdoor adventure, the traffic jam on the ride home. Mark Litke, ABC News, Tokyo.
That is our report on World News Tonight. Later on Prime Time, a renowned fertility doctor accused of stealing eggs from his patients. I'm Peter Jennings. Good night.
This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source.
Wednesday, Martha...